Welcome to Automate 2023. In this session, I'm Hillary Carpio. I lead the account-based function as well as customer growth marketing at Snowflake. Today, I'm going to walk you through how we have essentially scaled our organization. But before I do, a few things about me. I'm from the Yosemite area. I am not a Silicon Valley native. I grew up on 124 acres on a farm with cows, pigs, chickens, etc. So a lot of my creativity comes from being outside and innovating from just things that are around as opposed to being on technology. I'm a dog mom. I have a little golden doodle named Hudson, who's currently getting trained. We were just talking about a second ago. And then in my spare time, I like to do DIY. So I've repainted my house, sanded, caulked, done all of the different things for home improvement, especially during COVID. So the consistent theme you'll see is innovation and creativity, but all within structure and scale. And so that's what we're going to talk a bit more about today. You'll see the agenda here. We're going to get right into it. So we're going to start by talking about how we compose a unified go-to-market motion. This is essentially the infrastructure that we're going to talk about through the entire presentation, all the way up to automation and scale. So to get started, I want to give you guys an idea of what our account-based motion looks like at Snowflake. And while I have had the privilege of leading this team and growing the team from 5 to almost 30 globally now, my team, who some of us sitting over here, are really the ones who every single day are putting in the work with sales to build it. So simply representing them today. On this slide here, you can see we do this process across 230 plus SDRs, more than 9,000 accounts globally and 1,000 sales reps. The reason I mention that is not to brag, is to really show the challenge, which is coordinating all of those people. At the end of the day, they're humans, and humans are hard to get aligned doing the same thing at the same time. I'm going to talk a little bit later about how we're using Workato to help us get all of those humans doing the same thing at the same time. Before I do, one last note here, we do this with partner marketing, field marketing, marketing operations. All the cross-functional teams at Snowflake are involved in this process. The problem that a lot of people face when trying to replicate what we're doing is they try to start here in activation, right? So when I talk to startups I advise, when I talk to enterprises that we have conversations with, the conversation is often, I hired an agency, or I created this campaign and here's all of it, but it didn't work. Like, well, did you have a strategy? Did you know why you were doing it? Did you know what KPIs you were trying to achieve? No, I just thought ABM was, the thing I need to do. So the problem is when you start with activation, you can't be successful without the collaboration that leads to the activation. Where a lot of companies are challenged is that you can't have strong collaboration without the data to power collaboration. Those collaborative conversations with sales, with marketing, with sales development need to be coming from a review of data of what do the accounts look like, what are the intent signals, what is a technographic, firmographic, all of that information drives this collaboration. Once we have that, then we can get to the engagement and optimization. So we're going to dig into this a little bit more. The idea that I just presented of having all of that cohesive is what we're calling one team go-to-market. So Travis, while he couldn't be here today, is a co-author of the book Busting Silos that we wrote. And when we were doing so, we were like, is it the next evolution of ABM? Is it one team ABM? Is it ABSD? We're like, it's really not AB anything. It's go-to-market in a unified motion. So let me define that out for you guys. We're saying that account-based is a strategy. Anybody can be account-based. Doesn't matter what team you're on. It's a strategy and a go-to-market approach. Account-based marketing, and in my case, is the team that carries out, is responsible for this portion of marketing. One team go-to-market is the unified, scaled strategy and execution of the account-based motion across go-to-market teams. So then how do you actually do that? Because it sounds nice on a slide and it sounds nice on a stage, but like doing it's a whole nother story. If it were easy, we wouldn't all be sitting here. So we have to start the play with data. At a high level, I'm going to go into this more in a second. At a high level, we start with ABM suggesting topic lists to sales. This can go both directions. It could be sales coming to ABM and saying, hey, I really want to run a healthcare play in the Northeast, and we'll go get a list of accounts that supports that. Or it can be us coming and saying, hey, in your patch, you have a surge in interest in healthcare accounts on data science. This is where it makes most sense for us to start. After that, the ABM, SDR, and AE all choose a topic together. So this is a real life conversation. This part at this point in time will not be automated because it's really important that there's actual dialogue around why this topic, why these accounts, what content do we have, what message do we have, and where do we have gaps and what makes sense. Without this piece, I'm sure you guys have all been through this, you get the like 3 weeks into the campaign, the sales rep going, I changed my mind, I don't want that account in there. I want to pull it. No, I have this other priority now. That's what this conversation is important for, is to avoid that. We launched the ABM campaign on our side, and then 2 weeks later, the SDRs launched the outbound sequence. Both the campaign and the sequence are on the same topic that we agreed on in step 2. So if we're talking about data science to healthcare, SDRs are talking about data science to healthcare. The graphics are going to be the same, the content's going to be the same. And then at the end of the quarter, we do what we call an end of quarter flurry, which is something that someone on our team came up with, where we had an issue or a challenge where the SDRs were saying, hey, we're not on track to hit our quota. What can we do together to help? And I said, well, how about instead of spinning up a whole new campaign with a whole new set of either accounts or contacts, we take all of the people who the SDRs have already sequenced and haven't been successful, and let's do people targeting just to them with a message that sends them to a CTA gated form, bring them in as an SLA. This is now a standard part of our ABM process because it's highly, highly successful. You can see the graphs where when we run our flurry, you can see the uptick in responses for these folks. So work smarter, not harder. Most important thing here is clear expectations. So if you're gonna run a 1-2 punch, it's really easy to assume, and I'll tell you because I've done it, that people know what they're supposed to do, right? I'm gonna launch this ad, you're gonna launch a sequence. Here's the name of the sequence, put your people in it, it doesn't work that way. So we have gone to the point where we have calendar invitations. Here's the day, here's the time, here's the name of the sequence. We have all different mechanisms, and we'll talk more about how Workato is helping eliminate some of those here in a second. But clear expectations are really important and something we talk about in the book as well. So in order to get there, I talked about having to plan your play with data. We, in the book and then in this conversation, we'll talk about minimum viable and scale because they're not always the same thing and we don't always start in the same place. But what you see on the screen here is our essentially like in-house ABM platform that we've built at Snowflake. Not something we sell, just our own use of our data and our product. And this is where we call it the Arctic Insights, and it's where sales, SDRs, marketing, you name it, can come into this one view and see everything they need to know about their accounts. So you can see up here, these make up the whole of all of the account lists. They're broken up into suspects, prospects, and then customers. When you click on one of those, it brings up these different boxes. Here on this side is our propensity score. That's what our marketing intelligence team has created. Your intent over here, campaign engagement, and it goes on down the way. The idea here is that we don't want sales and marketing operating out of 2 different views. It's one team go to market. So in order to get started, minimum viable, we need intent data. Intent data is what I say determines when, right? We have what we call our account propensity score. We know who's a good fit. We're an account-based model at Snowflake. So all of the accounts are named at the beginning of the year. They're not going to change, at least in the enterprise organization. So intent is telling us of that list, who can we surface now in order to have the most relevant conversation? Or we have first-party web data. So have they shown interest in us? Most of the time with intent, we say it's third-party. They're interested in something we're selling, but they may not know we're an option. Firmographic data, of course, and then anything else you have. And this is one of my favorite things about our approach is you do what you need to do. If you have it, use it. If you don't, figure out what you can do with what you have until you have the budget or proof points to do more. And then also minimum viable, we suggest use a spreadsheet. Create a really simple score. If they visited this page, how much is it worth? If they are this title, how much is it worth? It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a $500,000 platform to get started. At scale, this might look like aggregating your data in one place, like a data cloud that you see here for Snowflake. Or might be an ABM platform that you buy to help do the propensity scoring and pull all of your data together. At the end of the day, timing plus fit equals impact. And that's what we're looking for. All right, so diving a little deeper, I want to show you guys how we really do this, get in the weeds on a daily basis with our SDR organization. So over here, you can see these red and green bars, and all of this data is anonymized, so there's no actual account information in there. But these red and green bars indicate the accounts within a territory in stack rank order of propensity, and that includes the timing elements. The red means an SDR has not touched it in the last 14 days. The green means it has. This becomes a really easy view, not only for individual contributors, AEs, DMs, but also at the RVP level to pull up and see how much red is on there. If you're saying you're not hitting your quota, if you're saying that you can't get into an account, you have high scoring accounts and they're turned red. So it's a great visual way for us to align. You have to know your ICP in order to do this, right? And that's the first step. And when we were actually, Travis and I were writing this book, he said, I really want to talk about building your ICP. And I was like, well, you should have already done that. Don't most people build your ICP before you start this? And he was like, no, they don't. And so that's a huge point here, that you can't get to this spot if you don't know who you're selling to. And so not only do you know who you're selling to, it's who is your product ready for today, not who are you selling to in a year that can't buy your product today because it's not ready. Next is doing a lookalike analysis of past customers for similar deal types. Something can be done in-house, something you can hire an agency for, but that's another way that we get to this account propensity score internally. Also, we're looking at company size, wallet, technographic, fit, etc. So all similar to companies that have purchased in the past. And then, do they want you? So all of the information under fit is, do you want them? Do they look like somebody you could sell to? And I like to use the dating analogy for this. Like, it's great to know you want somebody, but you can only like follow someone around and be creepy, right? It's like, it's weird. So you also have to know that they're interested in you. And that's where we look at the engagement data. I mentioned first party engagement. Are they engaging with your content first party? And then third party, are they interacting with other people's content, whether it's third party sites, whether it's industry events, whatever it might be that says, hey, they're interested. We have a win story that we like to share on this topic of third-party data, and Chris here in the audience was a big part of it. We went to a sales team during COVID and said, hey, you have a travel account that shows really, really high intent, but we don't see any activity toward the account. Like, we don't want to go after the account. It's a travel account, and it's COVID. Nobody's traveling. We're like, well, the data shows they're interested. We ended up reaching out to the account, got a meeting almost immediately, found out they were 80% of the way through a POC with a competitor and didn't know that we were an option for what they were trying to do, and then ended up winning the deal within a very short amount of time. And that's the power of understanding that third-party data and bringing it together with the SDR having the conversation, the AE having the conversation, ABM putting out the message, all in one cohesive strategy. I'm gonna go back 1 second. This note at the bottom, use third party to lead to first party. I love this because we talk so much about inbound, funnels, SLAs, MQLs, you name it. And we think about intent as this other thing, but in reality, intent is a way to help us figure out who should we target outbound to get to come inbound, and it can help close that loop for us. All right, so what's the next step? So we know who the accounts are we should target. We know roughly what the intent is, both first party and third party. That's where we build the narrative. And this was gonna be Travis's slide, so I'm gonna do my absolute best to do him justice. But we're taking different data points like tech stack, like competitor, like intent topics, like campaign engagement, and we're using those to create the outputs. So we're customizing outreach sequences. We're actually creating competitive content. So we can create a one-pager that says, here's how we compare against XYZ competitor, because we know that they're surging in that. We can customize it for their industry. We can customize it for their persona. And it allows us to plug and play and create really customized pieces of work in order to sell to these companies. This is another place where leveraging Mercado, I'll show you here in a second to make this a bit easier. All right, and then we get to the last piece of the data side, which is people activation. So in the ABM world, you have your account funnel, right? And then you have your lead funnel. And I personally don't like to mix them in because if you're measuring an ABM motion or a one-team go-to-market motion by leads, you're missing the point. So that entire account cohesive motion. But people are still buying. It's an account of people buying. So this is a view we give to our sales and SDR team as well. You can see how many marketable people are in the account in Salesforce. Marketable means they haven't opted out. You can see people with a lead score above 70. So if you're an SDR and you have an account you need to prioritize based off of the other dashboard, you can click on it and see who exactly you should reach out to. How many have an SLA, as well as trial activities. So Trial is obviously an important part. If they've activated a trial, we want to be able to click immediately and see where to go next. Next, people attempting to contact. This one's so interesting to me because you would think you go onto that first dashboard, you have sales, you have SDRs, you have marketing, and you say, great, this account is surging, it's the best one, and then you come here, and if there's 0 people attempting to contact, you've identified your problem. And that goes back to the assumptions that I was talking about. We just assume that those are being touched. They're not necessarily being touched. And then lastly, you have your SQLs. So how do you activate people? You start with the titles based on intent topics. And let me dive into this just a second because I get asked a lot about it. We don't always know who the people are who are driving intent, right? First party or third party. But if you have your topics narrowed down really well, you should be able to derive who the people are. So you want to get really granular in those topics so that you know X persona is really the only one who'd be looking for that topic. Your CIO is not going to be looking for, I don't know, marketing direct mail, just for example. Make it as easy as possible to activate. You can see here, any of these are clickable for us. Just click and go there. And again, Workato is helping us, that I'll show you in a second. Prioritize engaged accounts first, or engaged contacts. If people are already engaged, we put them to the top of the list. Reach out to them before we reach out to the others. Focus on untouched in the last 14 days. That's that green and red I was talking about. And then append data as needed via enrichment. Again, Chris, who's sitting in the audience, leads our enrichment side for ABM. And we're constantly looking for what contacts are we missing? Do we not have enough marketable contacts? How can we make sure that the sales team is prepped? You can't send an email to a business, you must engage people. That's the reality. So this is where the rubber meets the road. All right, so then how do we take that motion, automate it, and scale it? You'll hopefully remember this format from when I started, that it's the bread and butter of what we do. It's the 1-2 punch, if you will. And once you get these pieces down, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's the best part. You just keep replicating it over and over again. And it's the operational excellence that allows the scale, not brand new, net new programs over and over again that require a lot more churn and burn, both budget and human resources. And this is what it looks like at Snowflake. So we have our top 1-to-1 strategic level here. We call this Snowcat. Every RVP gets 5 accounts, and they cannot change them for the entire year. That is I call them our Roomba vacuum cleaner account. So like a Roomba goes down a hallway, and if there's an open door, it goes in, and then it like kind of bumbles around and comes back out, and then it keeps going. That's these accounts. So like when you come back out the door doesn't close. We just go find another door. Our next tier is our digital 1-to-1. This is the majority of what we do in terms of volume. Each AE gets to pick roughly around their top 5 accounts to get treatment. ABM, field marketing, SDR, AEs are all working these together, and they change quarterly. 1-to-few is a newer tier for us. This is mostly our competitive tier, so working with product marketing and the programs that they want prioritized in collaboration with sales is how we get these out to market. We also partner a lot with demand gen in this category to get their high value content out. Next, one-to-many. I'm a firm believer that one-to-many is, quote, ABM, it's one team go to market. I don't care how you get your message out as long as it meets the needs of your business. This is intent driven, like we were talking about. And then we have the people retargeting, which is the flurry that I mentioned. So this as a whole is my career at Snowflake in a slide. Cool. So then how do we use Workato to make all of this way easier, and how can you guys do this at your companies way easier as well? I built this graphic. You can see here on the left at a high level, here's our account intelligence sources going in, and then execution coming out, and you can kind of read through these. But we have a lot of touch points in ABM, and we are using Snowflake as the center of data in the middle, and then Workato working with Snowflake. We're proud that Workato is built on Snowflake and a great partner for us to work with there. When you come back to this glorious slide that I keep coming back to, connecting this collaboration to the engagement with SDRs is currently where we're leveraging Workato. So Emily, who's sitting here front row, is the only reason that this is actually happening in real life, because she takes ideas and makes them happen. But Workato is going and grabbing contacts out of Salesforce and then putting them directly into the SDR sequence needed for the campaign it's related to. So when we talk about that 1-2 punch, say the same thing to the same people at the same time across go-to-market teams. We've done it manually. It can happen, but it's way easier automated. So that's the start of it. We have a longer term vision, and I'll start here. We don't have to only do it with one sequence, right? So as 20 people in North America on my team who are activating these every day with their SDRs, each of them run a different campaign, a different play, multiple different plays with their sales team at any given time. So we're using Workato to help take all of those different cohorts of people, all of those different personas and sequences that match up and connect them together. Most importantly, we're also throttling them. So we have the contacts going into outreach, for example, and then they get sparsed out based off of the capacity of the SDR, which is another sticking point. If you guys have done this before, the SDRs will say, I can't do them all right now, I don't have time, whatever it might be. This helps us really spread them out so we can be really effective. And then we do the same thing I showed you earlier. We just keep replicating. The future state that we are looking to is to be able to automate more than just a sequence. So the sequence is our starting point, but we'd love to get to the point where it triggers a piece of direct mail. We use Reach Desk to be able to do that. We'd like to get to the point where we're able to take the data points that I talked about earlier, technographic, firmographic, intent, all of those pieces, and help create the ads automatically. So we use a combination of Canva and some other tools to help create our ads in mass. We believe that we can do this better with Workato than doing it as humans. And then also to do the eGIFs as well. And then, you catching on? We're gonna do it again. We're gonna build it all out and be able to replicate that across multiple campaigns, multiple geos, multiple sales reps being served. So what are our learnings? There's no single right way. So my goal in the last 22 minutes was to walk you through how we've built an insanely large, effective go-to-market motion at Snowflake, and we're a small part of the larger go-to-market motion at Snowflake. But it's what's worked for us, and the best advice I have is adapt it, change it, use it as inspiration, but what we did may not work exactly for you, and that's okay. Getting all the teams operating as one is hard. We have what we call family meetings. We meet with the SDR managers and sit down and say, like, why is this not working? What's going wrong? Point the finger, do what you need to do. Like, let's get to the bottom of it and help get better from that. Those hard conversations are painful, but they're necessary. Data is your compass and North Star, so you can build the most beautiful PowerPoint, slideshow, strategy, but if the data is not there helping you, it's not gonna be as effective. And then lastly, start small, optimize, and then scale before you automate. And that's another mistake I have made, and I'm sure others as well, is if you try to automate too soon, you spread garbage instead of spreading impact. So all of the ideas that I just presented, my co-author Travis and I have put into this book, Busting Silos, and there's a copy for each of you there. So we hope you enjoy it. I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you have technical questions, this is Emily right here. And she is the one that made the Workato stuff happen. So feel free to ask her as well. Oh, and then here's the impact, by the way. We have a 36% meeting rate in ABM accounts at Snowflake. That is 2 to 4x the benchmark in non-ABM accounts. And we see about an 80% lift in ACV in these accounts as well. So that's a short way of saying it works. We keep doing it, we keep growing, we keep scaling because it's making an impact for Snowflake as a business. There we go. That's it.